The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey is one of the best books ever written about how to build a better life. Most self-help books give you tricks, quick tips, things to say or do to look more confident, more productive, more successful. This book is different. It does not teach you how to act better. It teaches you how to become better. And that is a completely different thing. In today's video, we are going to break down all 7 habits, one by one, in plain simple English. No complicated words. No confusing theory. Just the real ideas that can actually change how you live. We will talk about how to stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are in control. How to build relationships where both people win. And how to become the kind of person who gets things done without burning out. Whether you are a student, a professional, a parent, or just someone who wants more out of life, this video is for you. So let us get started. Act 0. The foundation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever judged someone and then later found out you were completely wrong? Maybe you saw a colleague sitting at his desk doing nothing. You thought, he is lazy. He does not care about his work. But later you found out, his father passed away that morning. And he came to work anyway just to keep his mind busy. In that moment, everything you thought about him was wrong. This is where this book begins. Not with habits, not with tips, but with one simple truth. The way you see things shapes everything else in your life. Covey calls this your paradigm. Think of it like a pair of glasses. You wear these glasses every single day. You see your family through them. You see your work through them. You see yourself through them. The problem is, most people do not even know they are wearing glasses. They think they are seeing the world clearly. But they are only seeing their version of it. And where did these glasses come from? Your childhood. Your parents. The school you went to. The neighborhood you grew up in. The things people told you when you were young. All of that went into building the lens through which you see everything today. Here is why this matters. Every decision you make comes from how you see a situation. Every relationship you build comes from how you see people. Every result you get in life comes from the actions you take. And those actions come from your beliefs. So if your beliefs are wrong, your actions will be wrong. And no matter how hard you work, you will keep getting the same result. Imagine you are driving to a new city, but your map shows the wrong roads. You can drive faster. You can drive more carefully. You can try 100 different routes. But if the map is wrong, you will never reach your destination. Working harder does not fix a wrong map. Changing the map does. This is the problem with most self-help advice. It tells you to work harder. Wake up earlier. Say this phrase. Follow this routine. All of that focuses on the outside. But it never fixes the map. And that is why people follow advice for 2 weeks, feel motivated, and then go back to exactly who they were before. Real change does not start with your actions. It starts with your character. And character is not something you perform. It is something you build, slowly over time, through what you repeatedly do. Covey explained it through a simple chain. A thought leads to an action. An action, repeated, becomes a habit. A habit, over time, builds your character. And your character determines your destiny. Read that again. Your destiny is not decided by luck. It is not decided by where you were born or who your parents were. It is decided by what you do every single day. Now, to build a habit, you need 3 things. You need to know what to do. You need to know how to do it. And you need to want to do it. All three must be present. Most advice in the world only covers the first one. It tells you what to do, but it never helps you build the desire or the skill to actually do it consistently. The 7 habits are different. They work on all 3 levels at the same time, and they follow a path that every human being naturally walks through in life. We all begin independence. As children, we need others for everything: food, safety, love. We cannot survive alone. Then slowly we grow into independence. We learn to take care of ourselves. We earn our own money. We make our own choices. Most people stop here. They think this is the goal. But Covey says this is only the middle. The real goal is interdependence. It is the understanding that the strongest people in the world are not the ones who do everything alone. They are the ones who know how to work with others to build something bigger than themselves. The 7 habits take you through this entire journey. The first 3 habits build your relationship with yourself. The next 3 build your relationships with others. And the final habit makes sure you can keep going without falling apart. This is not a book about productivity. This is a book about who you become. And it starts right now. Act 1. Start with yourself. Here is something most people never think about. You cannot build a strong house on a weak foundation. It does not matter how beautiful the walls are. It does not matter how expensive the furniture is. If the ground underneath is weak, everything falls apart. Your life works the same way. Before you can be a good leader, you need to lead yourself first. Before you can fix a broken friendship, you need to fix what is broken inside you first. Before you can build something meaningful with another person, you need to know who you are and what you stand for. Most people skip this part. They jump straight to the outside. They try to fix their relationships, their career, their reputation. But they never look inward. And that is exactly why nothing stays fixed for long. The first 3 habits are all about you, your mind, your direction, your time. Win these 3 battles inside yourself, and everything outside becomes easier to handle. This is where real change begins. Habit 1. Be proactive. Let me tell you about a man named Viktor Frankl. He was a doctor living in Vienna in 1942. He had a good life, a home, a career he loved, a wife he adored. And then, one day, everything was taken from him. The Nazi soldiers came. They arrested him. They took his home. They took his work. They separated him from his wife. He was sent to a concentration camp, a place so dark, so brutal, that most people did not survive it. Inside those camps, the prisoners had nothing. They slept on cold floors. They were given almost no food. They were treated not as human beings, but as objects. Every single comfort, every single freedom was taken away. But Viktor Frankl noticed something that changed his entire understanding of human life. He noticed that even inside those camps, some prisoners kept their dignity. Some people chose to share their last piece of bread with someone weaker. Some people chose to comfort others, even when they themselves were suffering. And some people completely fell apart, even though their conditions were the same. Same camp, same suffering, different responses. And that is when Frankl realized something powerful. The soldiers could control his body. They could control where he slept, what he ate, and how he was treated. But there was one thing they could never touch: his freedom to choose how he responded. No one can take that from you. Ever. Covey built the entire first habit around this one idea. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space. And in that space is your power. That space is where your character lives. That space is where your freedom lives. Most people never use that space. Something happens and they react immediately. Someone says something rude and they get angry. A plan falls apart and they give up. A situation gets difficult and they blame someone else. They live their entire life reacting to things outside of them. Covey calls this being reactive. And reactive people have one thing in common. They believe that what happens to them controls how they feel. They say things like, "He made me angry. I cannot do that. I have no choice." Every single one of those sentences hands your power to something outside of you. Proactive people think differently. They say, "I choose how I respond. I decide what this means to me. I am responsible for my own life. Nothing outside has changed." But the person who says these words has taken their power back. This is not about being happy all the time. It is not about pretending everything is fine. Being proactive means being responsible. Even when life is hard. Even when things are unfair. Even when you did not cause the problem. Now Covey gives us a very simple tool to understand where we are spending our energy. Imagine two circles, one inside the other. The outer circle is your circle of concern. This is everything you care about and think about. The economy, politics, what people think of you, whether your team wins. Most of this is completely outside your control. The inner circle is your circle of influence. This is everything you can actually do something about. Your attitude, your habits, your effort, how you treat people, what you say, how you spend your time. Here is what most people do. They spend almost all of their energy in the outer circle. They worry about things they cannot change. They complain about problems they cannot fix. And over time, because they are not acting on what they can control, their inner circle gets smaller and smaller. Proactive people do the opposite. They put their energy into the inner circle. They focus on what they can change. They take action. They take responsibility. And slowly their circle of influence grows. Covey said it clearly. If you think the problem is out there, that thought itself is the problem. Here is the failure mode most people fall into. They hear the word proactive and they think it means staying positive. It does not. You do not have to smile through pain. You do not have to pretend things are easy. Being proactive simply means you decide how you show up, no matter what is happening around you. Viktor Frankl lost almost everything a person can lose, but he never lost that one freedom. And neither can you. Do this today. For the next 7 days, every time you catch yourself saying, "I have to," change it to, "I choose to." "I have to go to work" becomes, "I choose to go to work." "I have to deal with this" becomes, "I choose to deal with this." Do it for 7 days. And notice how differently you start to feel. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. I want you to try something. Right now, as you are reading this, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine something with me. Imagine it is a quiet afternoon. You walk into a large hall. The room is full of people. You see faces from every chapter of your life. Your parents, your siblings, your oldest friends, people you worked with, people you grew up with. Everyone who ever mattered to you is sitting in that room. There are flowers at the front. Soft music is playing. And as you walk further inside, you realize something. This gathering is for you. This is the last day people will gather in your name. 3 people are going to stand up and speak. The first person is someone from your family. The second person is your closest friend. The third person is someone you worked with. Now I want you to sit with these questions for just a moment. What do you want that family member to say about the kind of person you were at home? What do you want your friend to say about how you made them feel? What do you want your colleague to say about the work you did and the way you treated people? Whatever just came into your mind, that is not a dream. That is your direction. That is the life you are supposed to be building, starting today. Covey calls this habit begin with the end in mind. And the idea behind it is beautifully simple. Everything in life is created twice. First it is created in your mind. Then it is created in reality. Before a builder constructs a house, an architect draws the plan. Before a filmmaker shoots a scene, a writer writes the script. Nothing meaningful ever gets built without a design first. But here is the problem. Most people never design their own life. They wake up every morning and they just react. They respond to messages. They follow other people's schedules. They chase whatever feels urgent that day. And days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into years. And one day they look up and realize they have been incredibly busy, but they have not been building anything that actually matters to them. Covey described it perfectly. They were climbing a ladder their entire life, working hard, moving fast, never stopping. But the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. You can be the most disciplined, most hard-working person in the world. But if you never decided where you were going, all of that effort takes you to someone else's destination. So how do you fix this? You need a personal mission statement. Now before you switch off, this is not a complicated exercise. It is not something you write once in a notebook and then forget. It is something simple that you come back to again and again and slowly make clearer over time. Your mission statement answers 2 questions. Who do you want to become as a person? And what do you want to contribute to the world around you? Not what job title do you want? Not how much money do you want to make? But who do you want to be, and what do you want to leave behind? Once you have that answer, even a rough answer, it becomes your filter. Every time you face a big decision, you ask one simple question. Does this take me closer to the person I am trying to become, or further away? A job offer comes. You ask that question. A conflict arises. You ask that question. Someone pressures you to compromise on something important. You ask that question. That one question protects you from living someone else's life. Now here is the failure mode that most people fall into with this habit. They confuse goals with a mission. They are not the same thing. A goal is a destination. Get this job. Earn this amount. Finish this project. Goals are important, but a mission is something deeper. A mission is the compass that tells you which destinations are even worth reaching. Without a mission, you can achieve goal after goal and still feel empty, because you were never sure why you were chasing them in the first place. Do this today. Take out a piece of paper or open your phone. Write 3 sentences that complete this statement. At the end of my life, I want to have been someone who. Do not overthink it. Write the first honest thing that comes to your mind. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be true. That is your starting point. That is the foundation of everything else you will build. Habit 3. Put first things first. There is an old story about a man cutting down a tree. He has been sawing for hours. His arms are tired. His progress is slow. A stranger walks by, watches for a moment, and then asks, "Why do you not stop and sharpen your saw?" The man looks up, exhausted, and says, "I do not have time to sharpen it. I am too busy cutting." Now think about that for a second. He is working as hard as he possibly can. But because his tool is dull, most of that effort is being wasted. This is not just a story about a woodcutter. This is the story of millions of people living in the modern world. The person who is too busy to exercise and then wonders why their energy is always low. The person who is too busy to sleep properly and then wonders why they cannot focus. The person who is too busy to think clearly and then wonders why they keep making the same mistakes. They are all sawing with a dull blade, working harder but getting less done. Habit 3 is about fixing this. It is about learning to put the important things first before everything else takes over. Covey gives us a simple tool for this. Imagine a box divided into 4 sections. The first section is urgent and important. These are real emergencies. A deadline today. A medical situation. A crisis that needs your attention right now. This section is necessary. But if you are living here every single day, you are living in survival mode. The second section is not urgent, but important. This is where your real life gets built. Exercise. Learning something new. Spending quality time with the people you love. Planning your future. Working toward your long-term goals. Nothing here is on fire. Nothing here is screaming for your attention. And that is exactly why most people never get to it. The third section is urgent but not important. Someone calls you right when you were about to start something meaningful. A notification pops up. Someone asks you to sit in a meeting that has nothing to do with your actual goals. These things feel important because they feel urgent. But when you look closely, they are not moving your life forward at all. The fourth section is not urgent and not important. Scrolling through your phone for an hour. Watching videos, one after another, without even enjoying them. This is where tired people go when they have nothing left. Here is the most dangerous trap. Section 3 feels exactly like Section 1. The urgency feels real. The pressure feels real. But the results do not serve anything that actually matters to you. And most people spend the majority of their day, in Sections 1 and 3, wondering why they never have time for what truly matters. The answer is Section 2. That is where your life is built. But Section 2 never comes to you. You have to go to it on purpose. Here is how you do it. At the start of every week, not every day, every week, write down your most important roles. Maybe you are a student, a parent, a professional, a friend. For each role, choose 2 or 3 results that would actually move things forward. Not urgent tasks, important ones. Then schedule them first, before your week fills up with everything else. Now here is the failure mode. Most people do exactly this on a Sunday evening. They plan their week. They feel organized and motivated. Then Monday morning arrives. An email comes in. Someone needs something. A small fire starts. And by Tuesday, the plan is completely forgotten. The fix is simple. Treat your Section 2 time like a meeting you cannot cancel. You would not skip an important meeting with your boss to scroll through your phone. So do not skip an important meeting with your own future for the same reason. Do this today. Write down your 3 most important roles in life. For each one, name one thing that truly matters but keeps getting pushed to tomorrow. Then open your calendar and schedule it this week. That is your private victory. You have learned to take control of yourself, your thoughts, your direction, and your time. But here is the truth. You do not live in a bubble. There are other people in your life, and how you deal with them is a completely different skill. That is what comes next. Act 2. You and other people. You have done the hard inner work. You know who you are. You know where you are going. You know how to protect your time. But none of that means anything if you cannot work with the people around you. The next 3 habits are all about that. How you treat people, how you listen, and how you build something that neither of you could have built alone. Habit 4. Stop playing win or lose. Imagine you and a colleague have both been working toward the same promotion for the past 6 months. You both put in the effort. You both deserved it. And then, one morning, your manager announces that your colleague got the role. What happens inside you in that moment? For most people, something tightens. Even if they genuinely like that colleague. Even if they are happy for them on the surface. Somewhere deep inside, something feels lost. As if their win took something away from you. Covey says this feeling has a name. He calls it the scarcity mentality. It is the belief that life only has a limited amount of success, happiness, and opportunity to go around. And if someone else gets a piece, there is less left for you. This belief gets built into us very early in life. From the moment we enter school, we are ranked and compared. Someone always finishes first. Someone always finishes last. We are taught, quietly but consistently, that life is a competition, and that other people's success is your loss. But here is the truth. That belief is wrong, and it is quietly destroying your relationships every single day. The opposite of scarcity is what Covey calls the abundance mentality. It is the deep understanding that there is enough success, enough opportunity, and enough happiness in this world for everyone. That your colleague getting promoted does not close the door on you. That a friend building a great life does not shrink yours. Now, depending on how you see the world, you will approach every relationship in one of 4 ways. The first way is win-lose. I need to come out on top. You need to lose. This is the most common approach and the most damaging one. The second way is lose-win. I will give in. I will stay quiet. I will keep the peace, even if it costs me. People call this being easygoing, but most of the time it is not kindness. It is fear. Fear of conflict. Fear of being disliked. The third way is lose-lose. I am willing to destroy my own position just to make sure you do not win. You see this in bitter divorces, in broken business partnerships, in political fights that end with everyone losing. It is perhaps the saddest of all 4. The fourth way is win-win. I want us both to walk away better than we came. And if we cannot find that solution, then walking away entirely is better than a bad agreement. But win-win is not easy. It requires 2 things at exactly the same time. It requires courage to stand clearly for what you need. And it requires consideration to genuinely care about what the other person needs. Most people are strong in one and weak in the other. Too much courage without consideration makes you aggressive. Too much consideration without courage makes you a pushover. Win-win needs both, fully present at the same time. And none of this works without trust. Covey explains this through a simple but powerful idea. Every relationship you have carries a balance, like a bank account. Every time you keep your word, you make a deposit. Every time you listen with full attention, you make a deposit. Every time you apologize when you are wrong, you make a deposit. And every time you break a promise, dismiss someone's feelings, or put yourself first without care, you make a withdrawal. When the balance is high, everything is easier. People give you the benefit of the doubt. Small misunderstandings get forgiven quickly. But when the balance is low, even a simple conversation becomes a negotiation. Every word gets questioned. Every action feels suspicious. Here is the failure mode most people fall into. They hear win-win and they think it means compromise. Meeting in the middle. You give a little, I give a little, and we both walk away slightly unhappy. That is not win-win. Real win-win means looking for a third option. One that neither of you saw before you started talking honestly. Do this today. Think of one relationship in your life where you have been making more withdrawals than deposit. You know which one it is. This week, make one genuine deposit. Keep a promise. Say sorry first. Listen without interrupting. Do it without expecting anything back. Just make the deposit and watch what slowly begins to change. Habit 5. Listen like it actually matters. Think about the last time you tried to tell someone something important. Maybe you were upset about something at work. Maybe you were going through something difficult at home. And the person sitting across from you was already nodding before you finished your first sentence. Already forming their response. Already waiting for their turn to speak. Did you feel heard? Or did you feel like you were just filling time before they said what they wanted to say? Most of us have been on both sides of that conversation. And most of us are guilty of the same thing. Here is a simple way to understand this. Imagine you walk into a hospital. You sit down with a doctor. You begin explaining what has been bothering you. But before you finish your second sentence, the doctor picks up a pen, writes something on a piece of paper, and slides it across the desk. A prescription. Already written. Before you even told him the full story. You would walk out of that office immediately. Because a doctor who gives you medicine before understanding your problem is not helping you. He is guessing. And guessing with someone's health is dangerous. But here is the honest truth. Most of us do exactly this in our conversations every single day. Someone starts talking, and within a few seconds, we are already thinking about what we want to say back. We are already preparing our advice, our opinion, our own story. We are not listening to understand. We are listening to reply. Covey says this is the biggest problem in human communication, and it quietly damages relationships, one conversation at a time. So what does real listening actually look like? Covey breaks it down into 4 levels. The first level is when you simply hear the words someone is saying. You are present, but barely. You are taking in sounds, not meaning. The second level is when you begin to process those words. You understand what the person is saying, and you could repeat it back in your own words. The third level is when you pay attention not just to the words but to the feeling behind them. You notice that someone is not just telling you a story. They are telling you how they feel about that story. The fourth level is when you do all of this together. You understand what someone is saying, and you understand how they feel about it at the same time. Covey calls this empathic listening, and it is the rarest, most powerful form of communication that exists. But empathic listening is hard, because it requires you to do something most people are not trained to do. It requires you to put your own thoughts aside, your need to be right, your desire to fix things quickly, your habit of relating everything back to your own experience. You have to genuinely open yourself up to seeing things from where the other person is standing. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. The other person feels it. They feel the difference between someone who is waiting to talk and someone who is truly present. And when a person feels genuinely heard, something inside them relaxes. The walls come down. The defensiveness disappears. They become open in a way they were not before. Covey calls this giving someone psychological air. When a person does not feel heard, that need takes over everything. It is all they can think about. But the moment they feel understood, that need is satisfied. And now they have the mental space to actually hear you back. This is also the correct order of influence. If you want someone to truly listen to your point of view, you cannot start with your argument. You must start with your integrity. Be honest. Be consistent. Say what you mean. Then connect with how the other person is feeling. Show them that you understand where they are coming from. And only after that, bring in your logic and your ideas. When you follow this order, your words do not feel like a debate. They feel like a conversation. And that is when people actually listen. Now here is the failure mode. Many people confuse empathic listening with agreeing. They think that if they truly listen to someone, they are saying that person is right. That is not true at all. You can fully understand someone's point of view and still respectfully disagree. In fact, real disagreement only becomes productive when understanding comes first. Without it, every argument is just two people talking past each other. Do this today. In your next difficult conversation, make one simple rule for yourself. For the first 5 minutes, you are only allowed to ask questions. No advice. No defense. No sharing your own experience. Just questions that help you understand the other person better. That is it. 5 minutes of pure understanding. And notice what it does to the quality of that conversation. Habit 6. Turn differences into strength. Let me ask you something honest. When someone disagrees with you, what is your first reaction? For most people, it is not curiosity. It is not excitement. It is something closer to irritation. Or defensiveness. That quiet voice inside that says, they are wrong and I need to prove it. We have all been in that meeting, where two people are debating the same issue, from two completely different angles. Neither one is listening. Both are just waiting for a gap to push their point harder. And at the end of the meeting, nothing has moved forward. Everyone leaves, slightly more frustrated than when they arrived. This is what happens when people treat differences as problems to overcome. But Covey says there is a completely different way to see this. What if the person who disagrees with you is not your opponent? What if they are actually your greatest resource? Covey calls this synergy, and it is perhaps the most powerful idea in this entire book. Synergy is not compromise. Compromise is when you give up something you want, and I give up something I want, and we meet somewhere in the middle. Everybody walks away with less than they came for. That is not a solution. That is just a managed disappointment. Synergy is something completely different. It is when two people, with two different perspectives, stop defending their positions and start genuinely exploring each other's thinking. And in that exploration, they find a third option, one that neither of them could have found alone, one that is better than anything either of them originally proposed. Think about two colleagues working on the same project. One wants to move fast, launch quickly, and adjust later. The other wants to slow down, test thoroughly, and make sure everything is right before releasing. In a normal conversation, these two people argue until one of them wins, or they split the difference and do something average. But in a synergistic conversation, something different happens. They ask each other, "What are you most worried about? What does your approach protect against?" And when they actually listen to those answers, they realize something remarkable. The fast approach protects against losing momentum and market opportunity. The careful approach protects against releasing something broken that damages trust. A combined approach, one that launches a smaller version quickly, while building in careful testing, solves both problems better than either original idea. That is synergy. A third option, that only appeared because both people were willing to understand, before defending. But here is what makes synergy possible, or impossible. It all comes down to one thing: how secure you feel inside yourself. When you are not secure in who you are, a different opinion feels like a personal attack. If someone challenges your idea, it feels like they are challenging you. So you defend. You push back. You dig in. And nothing new can grow in that kind of environment. But when you have done the inner work, the work of the first 3 habits, something shifts. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You do not need the other person to agree with you to feel okay about yourself. And because of that, you can afford to be curious. You can ask, "What are you seeing that I might be missing?" And you can actually mean it. Covey described the conditions for synergy through a simple idea. Imagine trust on one side and willingness to cooperate on the other. When both are low, people become defensive. They protect their ideas like territory. Nothing new is created. When trust is moderate, people compromise. They meet in the middle, but no one is truly satisfied. But when trust is high, and both people are genuinely willing to work together, that is where synergy lives. That is where real breakthroughs happen. Now here is the failure mode. Most people have experienced synergy at least once in their life. A conversation that went somewhere unexpected. A brainstorm that produced something brilliant. A collaboration that felt electric. But they experienced it by accident. They do not know how to recreate it. They think it is something that just happens sometimes when the right people are in the room. But Covey says it is not an accident. It is a result. It is what becomes possible when you have built the habits that came before it. When you take responsibility for your own life, when you know your direction, when you manage your time around what matters, when you approach relationships looking for mutual benefit, and when you truly listen before you speak, synergy becomes available to you. Not occasionally, consistently. Do this today. Think of one person whose opinion regularly frustrates you. Someone whose way of thinking feels completely different from yours. And ask yourself one honest question. What might they be seeing that I am missing? Write down one genuine answer. Just one. And see what it opens up. You have now won privately inside yourself. And you have learned how to win publicly with other people. But there is one final enemy that quietly destroys everything you have built. And the last habit is the only thing that stops it. Act 3. Do not burn out. You have learned how to take control of yourself. You have learned how to build better relationships with other people. But there is one more problem that nobody warns you about. Even people who do everything right eventually run out of fuel. They lose their energy. They lose their focus. They start going through the motions without really being present. Because building a good life is not something you do once. It is something you have to keep doing every single day. And to keep doing it, you need to keep renewing yourself. That is exactly what the final habit is about. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. There is an old story about a farmer who owned a very special goose. Every single morning, he would walk out to the barn and find one golden egg sitting in the nest. Day after day, the goose delivered. The farmer became wealthy. His life changed completely. But then greed took over. He started thinking, if this goose produces one golden egg every day, there must be dozens more sitting inside it right now. So instead of being patient, he made a decision. He killed the goose to get all the eggs at once. There were no eggs inside. There was no hidden treasure. There was only a dead goose. And with it, the end of everything the farmer had built. Now think about the people around you. The colleague who works until midnight every single night because he believes more hours means more result. The parent who gives absolutely everything to their children, their time, their energy, their sleep, and has nothing left for themselves. The ambitious professional who has not taken a single day off in 3 years and wonders why they feel empty, even when they are succeeding. These people are all doing the same thing as that farmer. They are so focused on producing results that they are slowly destroying the thing that produces them, themselves. This is what Habit 7 is about. Taking care of yourself so you can keep going. Covey identifies 4 areas of your life that need regular attention and care. Neglect even one of them, and everything else slowly begins to fall apart. The first area is your physical health. Your body is the engine that everything else runs on. When you are not sleeping enough, your patience disappears. When you are not moving your body, your focus drops. When you are eating poorly, your thinking slows down. Most people treat their physical health like something they will get to later, when things calm down, when they have more time. But that time never comes. And the longer you wait, the harder everything else becomes. Your physical health is not a luxury. It is the foundation. The second area is your spiritual dimension. This does not necessarily mean religion, although it can. It means your connection to what truly matters to you. It means knowing what you stand for when it costs you something. It is the quiet time you spend in reflection, a walk in nature, reading something that makes you think deeply, sitting in stillness even for 10 minutes. This is what keeps you oriented when the noise of daily life gets loud. Without it, you start drifting. You get busy, but you lose your sense of direction. The third area is your mind. Most people stop learning the day they leave school. They stay inside what they already know. They read less. They explore less. They stop being curious. And slowly, without noticing, their thinking gets smaller. Covey believed deeply in reading and writing as tools for keeping your mind sharp. And writing in particular is powerful in a way that most people underestimate. You cannot write something clearly if you do not understand it clearly. Writing forces you to think. and thinking is a skill that needs exercise just like a muscle. The fourth area is your relationship. Research on human happiness has been consistent for decades. The single greatest source of long-term well-being is not how much money you earn. It is not the status you achieve. It is not the goals you accomplish. It is the quality of the relationships in your life. The people who feel genuinely connected to others live longer, feel happier, and recover faster from difficulty. And yet, relationships are usually the first thing people sacrifice when life gets busy. They tell themselves they will make time later. But later has a way of never arriving. Now here is the failure mode that most people fall into with this habit. They treat renewal as a reward. Something they will allow themselves once they have worked hard enough. Once the project is finished. Once the busy season is over. Once things slow down. But Covey says this thinking is completely backward. Renewal is not the reward for good work. Renewal is the engine that makes good work possible. Without it, the other 6 habits do not just become harder. They slowly break down entirely. And this is also why habit 7 comes last. You needed to know your direction first. You needed to build your relationships first. Renewal without direction is just rest. But renewal with a clear purpose behind it is fuel. Do this today. Think about the 4 areas: physical, spiritual, mental, and relationship. Pick the one you have been neglecting the most. Not the easiest one. The one you actually need. Then open your calendar right now and schedule 20 minutes for it tomorrow. Not when you find time. Now. Before the week fills up and it gets pushed aside again. And that is the complete journey. You started by understanding that the way you see the world shapes everything. You learned to take responsibility for your own life in habit 1. You learned to design your life with intention in habit 2. You learned to protect your time for what actually matters in habit 3. Then you stepped outside yourself. You learned to look for solutions where both people win in habit 4. You learned to listen before you speak in habit 5. You learned to see differences as a source of strength, not a source of conflict in habit 6. And finally, you learned to take care of yourself so you can keep going in habit 7. Stephen Covey did not write a book about getting more done. He wrote a book about becoming a better person. Because when you become better, everything around you naturally gets better too. The habits, the results, the relationships, all of it flows from who you are. Not what you do. Who you are. Now here is the only thing left to do. Do not try to apply all 7 habits at once. That is a recipe for doing nothing. Instead, pick just one. The one that spoke to you the most. The one you know deep down you need the most right now. And apply it this week. Just this week. That is how real change happens. Not all at once. One choice at a time. One day at a time. One habit at a time. Thank you for watching. And if this video helped you in any way, you already know what to do.